First and foremost, the people of Venezuela are in my thoughts and prayers. One can only imagine. For those of you who may not be aware, on June 24, 2026, northern Venezuela was struck by a rare seismic event in which two powerful earthquakes occurred just 39 seconds apart. The first measured magnitude 7.2, followed almost immediately by a stronger magnitude 7.5 event. Both earthquakes occurred along the San Sebastian fault system, a major strike-slip fault that marks part of the boundary between the Caribbean and South American plates. As of the time I'm recording this video, more than 900 people have been confirmed dead, thousands have been injured, and many remain missing beneath collapsed buildings. It's an absolutely heartbreaking situation, and my heart truly goes out to the people of Venezuela. Now, what makes this event even more scientifically interesting is the way these earthquakes occurred in sequence. At first I assumed this was just a typical foreshock, main shock scenario. After all, it's not uncommon for a smaller earthquake to occur before a larger one. In that case, the smaller event is called the foreshock, while the larger one is known as the main shock. But what immediately stood out to me was how close these two events were in magnitude. The first was a magnitude 7.2, followed just 39 seconds later by a magnitude 7.5. That seemed unusual. The example that immediately came to mind was the 2011 Japan earthquake. Before the devastating magnitude 9 main shock, there was a magnitude 7.3 foreshock. That's a significant difference in energy release. In many other cases, you may see something like a magnitude 4 foreshock followed by a magnitude 6 main shock, or a magnitude 4 followed by a magnitude 5, but a magnitude 7.25 followed by a magnitude 7.5, that's, definitely made me curious. So I started digging into the literature, and I kept seeing a term appearing over and over again: a doublet earthquake. Now, I've covered earthquakes on this channel before. Earlier this year, I even did an entire seismic shorts series. Before this week, though, I had never come across that term. What I was familiar with were foreshocks, main shocks, aftershocks, and earthquake swarms. In an earthquake swarm, you don't necessarily have one dominant main shock. Instead, you get a cluster of earthquakes occurring in the same region over time without a clear single largest event. But after reading about the Venezuela earthquake, I realized there was another term I needed to add to my seismic vocabulary: the doublet earthquake. So what exactly is a doublet earthquake? So a doublet earthquake is one of the rarest and most destructive types of seismic events. It occurs when two major earthquakes of similar magnitude strike almost back to back in the same region, delivering a devastating sort of 1-2 punch instead of the more familiar pattern of one large earthquake followed by much smaller aftershocks. The reason this is so destructive is simple. Buildings, bridges, and emergency response systems are already stressed and damaged by the first earthquake. Then the second major rupture strikes before recovery or even stabilization even can begin. When I learned that, my reaction was that it's both absolutely terrifying and devastating from a human lens, while also fascinating from a scientific angle at the same time. Many researchers and news reports have described the Venezuela sequence as a doublet earthquake because of how close the two events were in both time and magnitude. That naturally led me to another question: when else has this happened in history? Well, it turns out there are several notable examples. In February 2023, Turkey and Syria were struck by a devastating magnitude 7.8 earthquake. Then just 9 hours later, a second magnitude 7.5 earthquake ruptured the nearby Kardak Fault, compounding the destruction across the region. Another example occurred in September 2009 when the Samoa-Tonga region experienced a remarkable doublet sequence. An initial magnitude 8.1 earthquake was followed within a few minutes by a magnitude 7.8. Together, these earthquakes generated destructive tsunamis that claimed nearly 200 lives across Samoa and Tonga. Now, going even farther back, in 1976, China experienced another well-known sequence with a magnitude 7.6 earthquake on July 27, followed by a magnitude 7 event the next day. And those are just a few examples. There are several others throughout recorded history. And speaking of historical earthquakes, next week I have something special planned. It's completely unrelated to this tragedy in Venezuela, but it was actually something I had planned well before this event. But if you enjoy learning about earthquakes and geological history, I think you'll really like that. Anyway, I just wanted to give you a brief look at the recent Venezuela earthquake and introduce you to this relatively rare scientific phenomenon known as a doublet earthquake. Hopefully you learned something new today, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.